I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. So please open your ears very well in this video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Success, and if you're new here on this channel, I talk about nursing, faith, lifestyle, vlogs, and everything in between. And if you are a returning subscriber, this is my fourth video. Thank you for coming back, and please subscribe. So this is like a continuation of my nursing series. So I've done like 2 videos about nursing, how to become a nurse in the United States, how as an international nurse. So I know people are going to watch this video who might have studied here, but I'm going to be making more emphasis for those that did not school here. So it's going to be a blend of the both. And as you can see from the topic, I did not write how to pass your Nclex or for first try, second try, third try, fourth try, fifth try, or whatever. Because I know that some people that will be watching this video, it might not be their first try or second or even third. But this video is going to be explaining the things that helped me pass my exam, because I was a multiple test taker. Yes, I wrote this exam more than once. So safe to say that I know my onions and I know everything about this exam. Because apart from just reading my book, I started reading what is in this Nclex. How do I pass this Nclex? Like, what is actually the problem? What am I doing wrong? So, little backstory. I've always been an A student right from school. So I'm those type that read before the class, read after the class, and like sit down and lecture. I love going to lectures. I love physical classes. I love to interact. Like, I don't ask questions or talk in class. Like, you wouldn't even know that I exist. But I just really love it, right? And that made me pass all my exams right from childhood until I finished school. Like, I've always been really good. So, but this exam kicked me. It really kicked me. Like, it was, I didn't prepare for it like I should prepare for this exam. I was probably treating it like every other exam I was writing. And that's not something I want anybody to do. So I'm like, out here telling you guys, once you've made up your mind you want to write this exam, these I wrote down. So if you see me looking down, I have my book down. I wrote down some key points, some things that I felt like helped me pass this exam as a multiple test taker. It will also help you being your first time, because you don't want to take it multiple times. All right, trust me. So if time permits, I'm also going to be talking about the new changes NSBN made to this exam for next year, because it's been going around that the pattern of the exam is changing. The content is not changing. Nursing is nursing. If you've been studying for it, don't leave all your resources. Keep studying. But the style of the question is just going to change. Okay. So I'm going to be talking about that in the second part of this video. If I can make it one, I will. But if not, I'll have to split it in two. All right. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first thing I have on my list here is give yourself time. So many people have asked me the average time it takes to prepare for this exam. So the average amount of time I would say for international students or people who work is 3 months. I know some people take 6 months, some people take a year, especially international students, right? But I feel like the longer time you take, the more you get tired of studying for it, because you're not just studying the content, you're studying the style, how to answer the questions, and it could get really exhausting. So you could take more than that, but I'm talking about average. I'll take 3 months, and then if you're full time, if you're just studying full time, you can give yourself 6 weeks to actually eat it up, like dig it, like. But I'll say 3 months. Okay, so this is just my recommendation. Feel free to do what's best for you. You know how long it takes you to prepare for an external exam. Give yourself time. Number 2 on my list is create a schedule. Now, if you've not been creating a schedule for other exams, if you're someone like me who just feels like they conquer the world, any exam they go to, you would have to create a schedule for this one, my dear, because especially when you're working or you have other things going on. And even if you don't, I feel like if you're studying for it, do it like your full-time job. So I spoke to some people who have written this exam. They said when they were preparing for it, like they locked out their social life, right? they reduce going to parties, they reduce visiting friends, and it just like makes your brain focused on one thing, and it makes you concentrate more and get the information more. Because trust me, it's going to feel overwhelming, like you're preparing for something new, not totally new. It's what you're actually made to focus on that I would say it's new to us, because first of all, the way the exam is set is not what we're used to. Second of all, the content of what we are expected to know is not what was made emphasis on in my country. So it's not what we were expected to know. So you're different. And then the food aspect, you have to learn the kind of food here compared to what you eat back home. So there are a lot of difference. So that's why you need to give yourself enough time and create a good schedule that will make you that's something that's feasible. If it's 2 hours a day, if it's 3 hours a day, if it's 4 hours a day, whatever time that's feasible for you enough to be able to prepare for it, give yourself time and create that schedule, because you also have to learn lab values. Like you have to know them at the tip of your finger. You have to know the range of white blood cells, the range of all the electrolytes, the range of blood cells, and everything. So you actually need to, if you've not known these things before, if you've not paid attention to these things before, that's why I said you need to give yourself time, okay? Because you're not going to cram it, because eventually you're going to use it on the field depending on where you're practicing. So you just really have to know this as a nurse. The third point I always have, and I always would say, is know a little of everything. So that's like my mantra when it comes to exams in general. Like, I don't want to be guessing or say, God forbid, this will not come out, or say, God forbid, I pray this will not come out, or I pray this. Yeah, you pray, but bro, know a little of everything, okay? Because I know that there are like dominant areas, like cardiovascular system is actually really dominant when it comes to the Nclex exam, and then critical thinking, priority. Yeah, you need to know these things like really well, but don't forget to study other aspects of it. Like you need to know your respiratory, you need to know your oncology, you need to know your integumentary system, your endocrine system, and everything. Know a little of everything. Know the key point. Know a little of every. Like I cannot even say this enough. The next point I have is another question I get is, how do you know when you're ready? The first thing I'd say is, if your scores during practice questions are becoming consistent, and I would say from 60 upwards. So aim for getting like 80 over 100, 80%, 70%. But if you're getting 60%, it's not bad, okay? You can still write it. Don't let the fear of your scores intimidate you into thinking that you didn't study enough or you're not good enough for the exam. And only you know that you know when you're ready in your mind. Like, you know that there's no question that will be given to you that you don't have any idea about. You should have an idea of everything. Trust me, I took this exam 3 times. So I definitely have an idea of everything. And I went up to 145 the 3 times. So imagine I have seen about 145 times 3. Whatever it is, I shall know that it's over 500 questions I've seen from the Nclex. So no question, no question repeated itself. No question looked alike. I had different areas on all the times I wrote. So you can imagine how broad their question bank is. So you just want to know a little of everything. You don't want to be thrown aback. And even if you're thrown out, you should be able to learn how to make educative guess, or what's the word? Intelligent guess. Yes. So before your exam still, you need to go to your location a day before if you can. But if you cannot, don't worry, that's fine. But it just helps to ease, if you're the type that has examination anxiety, it helps you to get familiar with your environment. It helps you to feel better, confident, and all that good stuff. But if you can't, that's okay. Then on the exam day, I need not tell you to arrive early. Okay. and then the exam is 5 hours long, but you can finish in 10 minutes and you can go home. You can finish in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever time, and you can exhaust the 5 hours. You're allowed to bring in snacks, but you're going to be asked to keep them in a locker, in a cupboard or something, and then you have your key and your ID. Don't bother bringing anything for the exam, just your key. No headband is allowed, no chewing gum, no jewelries, nothing. Just come with your ID. That's all. The only thing you're going to take into the exam hall is your ID and your locker key where you keep your food. You could take your break anytime, come out and open your locker, eat your food, and go back. But you actually need food because you're using up all the glucose in your brain. You're using up your brain, like you're thinking. So this is not an exam where you read and go and pour out what you read. Because even in all these practice questions we do, none of them is exactly like the exam. Okay, so it's not like you're reading and you're going to pour out what you read. You're going to think about it. Every question you see, you are going to think about it. I know there are some direct questions, but there are very few. And then on the exam day as well, you don't have to feel intimidated, especially as an international nurse. Yeah, don't feel intimidated because you have passed through nursing school, as they would always say. You're here now, whatever country you're writing the exam, if you're writing it in UK, in the Philippines, anywhere, South Africa, you're there now. You deserve to write it and you will pass that exam. If you have anxiety, whatever you do to get rid of it, if you pray, pray very well, okay? And there's another thing I always say when I'm preparing for exam is pray like it all depends on prayer if you're a Christian, and then read like it all depends on reading. So you're not going to be praying and not reading, and you're not going to be reading and not praying because they definitely go hand in hand. We definitely cannot do anything as Christians without talking to God first, without praying, because we believe that we're everything through Christ that strengthens us. So we definitely need to pray. Okay. So yes. And then after the exam, how do you know if you've passed? So there are three ways to check if you've passed before your board of nursing actually sends it to you. The first way is a Pearson View trick, where we try to like go to the website of Pearson View, try to pay again. If it lets you pay, then you failed. If it did not let you pay, then you've passed. You can go to other videos that talked about how to do the Pearson View trick. I'm not going to be explaining that much, but if you have questions, you can leave it in the comment section and I'll be answering that. And then another way we check how you've passed is you can go on nurses, which is like a quick way of checking your license, nursys.com, something like that, and type your name. If your license number comes out, you've passed. If not, still wait for it. Give it about 2 or 3 days. And then another way is a Pearson View quick results, which comes out 48 hours after your test. So that one you pay like $7 or something, and then it would give you your quick result if it's pass or fail. So those are the three ways you can check how if you've actually passed your exam before your board of nurses sends it to you. If you're in slow boards like Arizona, that would not send it to you for days, 6 days, 3 weeks, whatever, then you really need to check it quickly with these three steps that I take. Or if you're patient and you want to wait, that's fine, baby. Okay, so that's it for all the points I have here on how to pass your Nclex exam. If you find this point useful, please give me a like and please subscribe because I'm going to be talking about more things about this. And please do well to share the video with your friends who are also preparing for the Nclex exam, and tell them to also subscribe to my channel. Okay. So if you watched this video to this point, thank you for sticking through. This is the last part of the video and I'm going to be talking about the new changes Nclex will be making to their questions by next year. Now the content is not going to change, it's going to be the same, but how you're expected to answer the question is going to be different. Now they're going to make more emphasis on clinical judgment and critical thinking. Many people say it's going to be more difficult and some people say it's going to be easier, but whatever way it is, if you follow the tips I shared in the beginning part of this video, it's actually going to help you create a structure on how to pass. And for those who are going to be writing next year, this video is for you. So this next generation NCLEX questions are going to be starting in April 1st, 2023. They are going to be making use of case studies in order to ask questions. So it's not going to be general multiple choice. It's going to be like case study, like a patient walked into the room with that symptom. What do you think would be the diagnosis? Or what do you think would be the most correct diagnosis? What do you think she's having from her variations and lab values? What do you think the provider is going to order for the patient? What labs are you going to send out for her? Questions like that is just going to make you make clinical judgment. The next generation NCLEX will introduce unfolding case studies and standalone clinical judgment items. Each case study include a clinical scenario, supporting information, and 6 questions that require candidates to make multiple decisions. Now, this kind of question, if you miss the diagnosis at first, be sure that everything else you're going to be stating, you're going to miss it as well, except it's like a group of diagnosis, differential diagnosis that might have like same signs and symptom or same intervention and all that stuff. But if you're like far from it, if you've missed the first question, you're going to probably likely miss the 6th question. So you actually really need to be more careful in preparing for this next generation NCLEX exam. So the minimum and maximum length of the exam. So right now, the minimum length of the exam is 75 questions, but for the next generation NCLEX exam is going to be 85 questions, and then the maximum for now is 145, and then for the next generation, it's going to be 150. Now there will be 52 standalone question, which is like normal multiple choice question, and then 3 case studies, which will have 6 questions each in the case study, which is going to be 18, that will be scored and contribute to the pass or fail decision. This next generation NCLEX exam, it introduces a new scoring methodology known as the polythomous scoring, which is like partial credit. So comparing it to the one we write now, this one the one we write now is either all are correct or incorrect when it comes to select all that apply. So if you're given like 7 options to select all that apply and you picked only 2, meanwhile 3 are correct, you're going to fail that question. But for this exam, good news, they're going to be scoring them per point. So it's either correct or not correct, meaning if you get 2 correct out of the 8, they're going to like mark those 2, score those 2 well for you, and you're not going to fill the whole question just as it was for us. So that's actually like the better part of this uh next generation. So yeah, not all the changes are harder, right? So another scoring rule is that candidates will earn points by selecting the correct option, but they will also lose points by selecting the incorrect options. The score for this question is tallied by adding up the correct option point and then subtracting the incorrect option point. So if candidate answer more options incorrectly than correctly, the lowest score they can receive is a 0. So this is actually tricky. So like what I'll always tell my candidates or people who like coaching to prepare for the NCLEX is, if you're sure of a question, pick it. If you're not sure of a question, do not pick it, because this scoring rule is that they are going to fail you for the one you failed and pass you for the one you passed. But if you're given a multiple choice question of 10, let's say you're given 10, and technically out of that 10, you're asked to select all that are correct in those 10 questions, and probably technically 8 of those questions are correct. Now if you picked 3 right and 3 wrong, okay, they're going to mark your right, mark your wrong, right? So it's like 3 3, but they're also going to subtract the one you failed from the one you got. So now it's 3 minus 3. So invariably, you did not get that question. If you got, let me give another example. If you got 5 correct and you failed 3 out of the questions, they're going to subtract the 3 you failed from the 5. So invariably, you got only 2 right. That gives you some mark, which is good. But for us, because I picked something incorrect out of the option, I already failed that question. So I think it's better for the next generation. So that makes this rule I give people, which is pick only the ones you're sure of for select order apply correct, because it will help you more when you just select the ones you're sure of. At least you know that you get it. Okay, you're not going to be failed for the ones you did not answer. Instead, you're going to be failed for the one you picked to be correct that is actually not true. Another scoring rule is the rational scoring rule. This is applied to questions assessing rationale or paired information, because the question is assessing a candidate's knowledge of the concept. Both answers option must be correct to earn a score or 1 point. If one or both of the options selected are incorrect, then the score is 0. Example, the client is at highest risk of developing that dash as evidenced by the client dash. So this is the fill in the gap question that we're talking about. So the scoring rule for this one is that both answers must be correct. If you fail one and you miss the other one, then they will assume that you don't know what you're doing as a nurse, and they're going to fill that question for you. Things that are not changing for the exam. One, the time allowed is not changing. The delivery method is not changing. It's still going to be a computer adaptive test. Now, if you don't know what computer adaptive test is about, this is how the Nclex marks the exam. It's literally Nclex questions are marked in two times. One, while you're writing the exam, you're being scored, you're being evaluated, and then after the exam, you're also going to be evaluated by the people at the back end, whatever. So, computer adaptive test means that how I illustrate this to people is that you're like on a line, like this is a grid, this is a line, right? Once you're getting the answers correct, you're going up the line. And if you fail an answer, you go down. If you get an answer, you go up again. If you keep failing the answer, you go down the line. If you keep getting the answer, you go up the line. And if the Nclex, if the computer feels like this person, I feel like she should be a good nurse. Once you're going up the line, it shuts you off. That's why we have minimum and maximum question. So if you are shut off after you go above the line, it means that you were probably getting your questions very correct, or the question close to that 75, probably the last 25 question, you were probably really getting it well and you were above the line. It shuts you off. But if for any reason you come down or you go down, you keep answering the question, it means that you're still in the game. You keep answering the question, answering. And once you keep going like that, it probably gives you the chance to finish the question. Okay, what is she up to? She knows what she's doing. He knows what he's doing, but what is this person up to? The computer gives you the chance to answer all the questions. And then when you're done, it now decides if you passed or you fail. So it's really tricky. You don't know the number of questions you might have answered to pass or not. And trust me, you could be getting everything from the beginning. And then when you get to the end, you start failing the question. Probably you're tired, you're exhausted for whatever reason it is. That's why this NCLEX exam it's not because you know it so much or you don't know it or something. It's just you pass, just thank God. So you could be passing and then start failing towards the end. You actually fail that exam. It's not going to give you 80 over 100 or any percentage, but literally they'll tell you that it's a 50% exam, because for you to go up the scale, you should at least know 50% of the information. And then another tip that people that helped me, or that I everyone should know, is that you should know what every other person knows. So the question also has easy question. The exam also have like what they categorize into easy questions, medium level question, and high level question. So the easy level question, if you fail it, probably the way they drop you, I think, is worse than the way they'll drop you for a hard question. That's just what in my head. That's what I'm thinking. Because they expect that every nurse should know easy level question. Medium level question, everyone should know it, but hard level question, I think they will give you a break, or they'll give you a chance to feel that. Like it's not going to drop you so much. So you should know what every other person knows. So meaning that as much as the information for this NCLEX are a lot, they're still confined into some regularly asked questions or most used content for the NCLEX. So you would find that in most resources. In my next video, I'm going to be explaining the different resources um I tried out for the Nclex. I've heard about, I've seen, and I've used. Okay, I think I'm going to be talking about 6 resources. So that's enough for you to be able to make a decision according to the kind of person you are, your learning plan, and the time you have to prepare for the Nclex exam. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, a like, and do well to subscribe and share this video with your friends and anyone you know that would need this video. Okay, and please subscribe so you could see the next video when I post it. Hope you enjoyed this and hope you've learned a lot about the next generation NCLEX exam. You are going to pass it because you're a sure success.